normal to today, but you've got to think back to when it came out and the design. So this is the DB24 and this coupe design that was introduced, which you see two-door with this coupe shape, which today is so common. When this car came out, it was actually very innovative. This is sort of where the coupe concept really started. And one thing that is particular to this car, I just love the sea green. The color is called sea green, and I think it's beautiful. It really, really suits the DB24. A magnificent Aston DB24 Coupe. Thank you very much for bringing it to us. From England to Italy, here we have, come up to me, come up and see me. Stop over here. I'll just move to one side just in case. Here we have a Ferrari. This was a Ferrari 250 GTE. The GTE was Ferrari's first 2+2. This is the very sort of first production 2+2 with that famous 3-litre V12 engine in the front, and of course the 2+2 seating arrangement. Designed by Pininfarina, same as the 275 that we saw earlier on, and there's some styling cues that were always kept. And one of my favorite, one of the great styling features of a Ferrari, in the radiator you see that egg crate grille. It's something that Ferrari never lost, and it's always kept it, and it's a really emblematic, it's a really sort of a signature of Ferrari. So this 2+2 I was looking at earlier on, great, fabulous, stylish colors, and a magnificent restoration. A very popular Ferrari at the time, and it said that even Enzo himself, il commendatore, Enzo Ferrari, owned a 250 GTE. It is reported that actually the 2+2s were cars that he really enjoyed and he liked, and he had one just like this one.
Thank you, Max. And Bryn, your first time here at Salon Privé with the car. We're delighted you've won Best Restored. Congratulations. Well done, guys. And Bryn is just typical of one of the guys that's undergone a 2-year restoration with a car like this. It's recently been restored about 2 weeks before it was brought here to Salon Privé, and he is one very happy camper.
It's great that that actual car was brought back to Italy, to Modena, to be restored with a lot of the workmen that were working and building these cars at the time. And now a Jaguar, but not just any Jaguar. We were talking about Ferrari earlier on and Enzo Ferrari. Well, let me tell you about Enzo Ferrari and what he said when he saw the Jaguar E-Type. It was first shown at the Geneva Motor Show in 1961, and again, now we see all these cars, but it's really important to put into context and to see what else was being produced at the time. And just look at the design and look at the lines of this car compared to the GT, how much more rounded and sleek it was. And when Enzo Ferrari saw the Jaguar E-Type, when it was unveiled at the 1961 Geneva Motor Show, his words were, "That is the most beautiful car in the world." Now, coming from the producers, some of the most beautiful cars in the world, I think that is quite the compliment. And this E-Type is one of the very, very first cars produced. E-Type went on to be produced for many, many years, and there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of E-Types, but this is one of the very first cars. This is the press car, the development car, the car that the press was able to use, the car that was used for developing where there was suspension and high-speed testing. So in Jaguar history, this is probably one of the most important Jaguar E-Types. And interestingly, I think that the coupe version is probably the most beautiful of them all. Much prettier than a Roadster, and the coupe was how it was initially designed. The Roadster was only later, but the coupe was the initial Jaguar design. So a very, very important E-Type. There was 3 of these sort of press cars, and this is one of the 3. Jaguar owns the other one. So really, to have it here at Salon Privé is a real treat. It's a real honor. It's we see a lot of E-Types, but none as important in the history of Jaguar as this one right here.
Thanks, Max, and delighted, guys. Congratulations, you've won class runner-up. Well done.
Italy and back to Ferrari. 1964, oh, stop there. 1964 Ferrari 250 GT Lusso. We saw the 250 GTE. This is the 250 GT Lusso. Very similar engine, still that 3-litre 12-cylinder, but look at the lines on this car. Thought to be one of Ferrari's best cars, one of his masterpieces. Probably not so much Ferrari, whereas you could give the credit to Pininfarina, who were the people that designed the car. It's one of the most beautiful Ferraris. The lines and the design of it were fabulous. This car here was designed to be in between the 250 GTE that we saw earlier on and the Ferrari 250 short wheelbase, which was the racing GT, the racing Berlinetta. One of the best masterpieces, and interestingly, this actual car remained in the same family ownership for 48 years, and I can understand why. I can tell you that having been lucky enough to drive one of these 12-cylinder Ferraris, it is quite something, and the dashboard was very innovative. If you have time, do have a look inside and you'll see that the instruments in the car are not placed right and center of the driver, but actually in the center of the dash. So the speedometer and the rev counter are in the center of the dash. Probably not so good if you're going quickly for your passenger to see how quick you're going, but quite a different look, quite an innovative way of presenting a dashboard. One of Pininfarina's masterpieces. Look at the small little bumpers, the cam tail. I would say that you'll agree with me, one of the most pretty Ferraris ever built.
Thank you, Max. And Carl Demean's the driver and the guy that's gone through the painstaking restoration. But we're going to actually present the prize today to the future owner of the car, his son, Mr. Demean Jr. Please accept your prize.
That must be the youngest winner of a prize at Salon Privé in the history of the concours. Tell me, how old are you? 10 more years and you'll be driving this car here at Salon Privé. Let me open the door for the winner. Sir. Congratulations, a fabulous 250 Lusso. The restoration, the colours, just to die for. Congratulations. Speaking of restorations, have a look at that 365 GTC Ferrari that is coming up here. The restoration on this 365 is absolutely magnificent, I would say faultless. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, was the replacement of the Lusso. It was the future. This is the direction that Ferrari went in. The two-seater front-engined 12-cylinder car, but this is a big engine. We had a 3-litre 12-cylinder engine, the Lusso. This is over 4-litre, more than 320 horsepower. So this is actually a very powerful and very, very quick car. The 365 GTC Coupe. David Cottingham, that owns the car, I think he knew the car, he saw the car many, many years ago, he even worked on the car, I think, many years ago, and then he had the chance to buy it back. So how long have you known this car?
Well, I worked on the car first in 1979.
Almost shows your age, 1979. He was a very young man when he was working on the car in 1979, and then he had the chance to buy it again. He found it in Ireland. I just love the stories behind these cars. Found it in Ireland in a rather sad state, can we say?
Yes, a guy who was once Prime Minister of Ireland by the name of Lachlan Quinn, he owned this in a 330 GTS, and he left them parked outside for a couple of years.
As you do with your Ferraris.
So we bought a pair, and I thought I must have this car back because I'd known it forever. I used to go with my friend Paul Alexander down to Pierre Bardinon's great Ferrari collection at Aubusson, so I know it well. I've run against it in other cars, trying to keep up with Paul and driven it back then.
So you knew it, you found it, you bought it back in a very sorry state, and then embarked on a restoration.
Total restoration.
And this is the result. It looks absolutely magnificent, and a car that David has known a long time. I have to say, having found it again and having the courage and heart to go and buy it. I think that's a great story behind this 365 GTC.
Thank you, Max. And I'm not sure who's won the prize. It's the prize for most elegant. So should we give it to Kate Cottingham? Is it the car or your wife, David? We'll give it to the wife. Most elegant, Kate Cottingham, Salon Privé.
Congratulations. Magnificent car, magnificent restoration. Lamborghini Espada. Now, does that look like a spaceship or what? Again, 2+2. Believe it or not, the car is huge, but it's only got 4 seats. And this is Lamborghini's answer to Ferrari when they came out with the GTE. This car also has a V12 or a 12-cylinder engine in the front and the 4 seats inside. And design-wise, it's very interesting. It was designed by Bertone, and at the time there was Gandini was there. He was the person that penned the car. Considered to be probably one of the great designers of our era. And I think that if you have the time to look at it closely, looking at, for example, the glass window in the back, or the interesting headlights that are recessed, that are set into the front of the car, completely different from what Ferrari was doing, whom they were competing against. Exactly the polar opposite, but the same era, coming from the same time. So you can imagine they were really trying, Lamborghini at the time was trying to be completely different and appealing to a different clientele altogether. So very interesting design from Gandini, again considered to be one of the greatest designers of that time. Thank you very much for bringing the Espada.
We've been stood over.
Moving on to class